Welcome to Coffee with Ken, a podcast devoted to the music of Oklahoma and those who create it. Your host, Ken Childers, is a lifelong music lover, former radio guy, and current newspaper editor. In each episode, we'll take a look, as well as a listen, to the singers, songwriters, and performers who have Oklahoma roots. So grab your mug, sit back, and enjoy this episode of Coffee with Ken.
Well, welcome to Coffee with Ken. My guest tonight is Matt Martin. He's a fellow Seminole High School, Oklahoma alumnus.
Yes.
And we have a lot in common. We were both drummers at that high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Matt went on to legendary status.
In his own mind.
He was a guy I certainly looked up to. A few years ahead of me in school. I think you graduated in what, 74?
I did.
Yes, graduated in 74, and I was a little kid running around, and I admired you from afar, drumming both on the football field and then certainly at basketball games and things. And I thought, that guy's pretty cool. Maybe I should take up drumming.
Well, yeah, I have lots of great memories of being in the pep band at the basketball games.
Yeah, I played in the pep band too. That was like our own little rock band, wasn't it?
Yeah, I loved that. That was so fun.
Yeah, who was your band director? Was that Joe Reed you were under?
He was the first one. And then David
Vanderwalker?
Vanderwalker, yes, thank you. David Vanderwalker, which he's still a Facebook friend, and we communicate through there every once in a while. And then there was a band director who came in between, and he was there 1 year. Yeah, so I guess when you figure out how long there were like 4 band directors altogether, which seems like a lot,
right?
But when you start at age 12 and go to age 18, sixth grade through graduation, we did have some changes, but I felt fortunate to have some really good band directors. I've got a funny story about when I was 12. I was talking to Joe Reed, was a friend of my dad, and he said, "I understand you want to be in band," and I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, do you know what you want to play?" I said, "I want to play drums or saxophone, because I feel like those are the two things that I could carry on," because I was already, even at age 12, thinking about playing in a band,
Okay.
like playing in, playing in combos and getting out. And he said, "Well, we're going to start you on snare drum." Then he said, "You don't get a drum set yet, but eventually, if you start on snare, which you did that as well, so you know what that was." So I had to learn all the rudiments and stuff. And then when I was 14 at Christmas, my parents bought me a drum set. And so
I was about 12. I bought my first drum set as a little 3-piece red sparkle set. I bought it with paper route money off a girl who was drumming a year ahead of me. Her name was Pam Clark.
I gave her lessons. She has the distinction of the only person who ever took drum lessons from me.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, little red. It was an off-brand drum set, but it was so cool looking. Red sparkle. I think the brand was Polaris.
I played those drums.
All those were yours as well. Well,
no, that kit of yours at some point, I don't know how, but it was around. Maybe you told me it was okay to play them because I played that kit some. I remember it.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
My goodness. Well, let's flash forward a little bit. When I was a senior in high school, I graduated in 1982. But when I was a senior, you came with a band to the municipal building in Seminole, and they put on a dance. And you were with the band called the Gators.
Yeah.
And boy, that was a hot band. I was so impressed that night. I thought, golly, I wish my little band would sound like that.
That was a great band, and I still know every one of those guys.
Who all was in that band?
The guitar player was a guy named David Skinner who lives
Okay.
here in Tulsa. We're still friends, and had him come sit in the other night at a gig. And then a guy named Steve Elmore played keyboards, and he is still around. And a guy named Rodney Johnson was our singer. That he was incredible, and he lives in Dallas. Um,
Okay.
and then a guy named Mike Hughes was the bass player, and he is also still around. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun. That was a fun little band. Lots of great songs we played. Everything from Joni Mitchell to the Police to whatever else was going on back then. But
Yeah, I remember. And you played some Eagles and did a
yeah.
cover of Desperado that was very cool and
Oh yeah, yeah.
sounded real good.
Rodney sang that very well. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I still remember that. And then flash forward another year, and I was in college out here at Seminole State College. You probably played with this guy, C.E. Redwine, and the
Hmm.
Wyandottes. Did you ever play with that group?
No, I remember them,
Okay.
but
Well, he was the band director out at Seminole State, and
mhm.
what he would do, he took the stage band and he would book us out at these Elks lodges and Moose lodges across the state, and had his own little thing going with that. And uh, sometimes we called ourselves the Wine Dots.
Oh.
But I drummed with him for a while, and then, but the point I want to make, a Magruder caught me in a photography class out at Seminole State College, Seminole Junior College then, and she said, "Guess what Matt is doing? He's drumming for Reba McEntire." Now, how did that
Yeah.
come about, Matt?
I went to college in Ada, Oklahoma at East Central State. And Reba is from Stringtown.
Right,
And I hooked up with her cousin, a guy which Roger Wills.
Roger Wills, right?
Yeah,
Claims
Roger.
he's bow legs, but he's not. But
No, yeah. But Roger lived around Ada. He was from Kellyville, I think. And anyway, he and I were kind of big fish in a small pond. We really hit it off as a rhythm section, and he played bass and I played drums, and we played with a lot of different bands, and that's kind of how I put myself through college. I would work several jobs in the summer and put money back, and then I would just throughout the winter when I was in school, I'd play on weekends. And Roger and I were always the rhythm section, and then I graduated from college and moved to Tulsa and got in a band with a guy named Sylvester Smith III, and he just played Holiday Inns and things like that. I was 6 nights a week, 5 hours a night. I did that for a couple of years, and it was a living. I got paid enough to live on it. And Roger came and joined that band, and then he quit that band. He said my cousin called, and her name is Reba, and she's got 3 albums out on Mercury Records, and she needs a bass player. I'm going to go do that. So he quit our band to do that. And then sometime after that, I quit. And then I was working a day job as a record. Back then, they had record distributors. You would stock the record shelves at Walmart and TGNY and Kmart and all those stores. And I was doing that, and Roger called me and said, "Well, our drummer is going to get moved over to road manager. And do you want to play drums with us?" And I said, "Man, yeah, I would love to audition." And he said, "Man, you don't have to audition." He said, "Reba said you're the bass player. Go find us a drummer. You know what we're looking for." So I didn't even have an audition.
wow,
I They hired me, and I started 2 weeks later. My first gig was in Fort Myers, Florida, and I went down and met the band, and we ran the beginnings and endings of the songs for a half an hour. And Reba came out. We were rehearsing in the bus barn in her ranch at Atoka, and we ran to make sure we could start and end the songs. And she came out and said hi, and then said, don't be late in the morning. Bus pulls out at 6:30. Don't be late, or we'll leave you. And I said, I'll be here. And so with 30 minutes rehearsal, I went and played a show. I think it was the Statler Brothers we were opening for, and there's about 20,000 people there, and
Oh my.
with a half-hour rehearsal. So it was very exciting.
And how long did you keep that up? How long did you work for Reba?
2 years.
2 years.
It was the way it worked out, it was calendar years. The first gig was in January, and then the last gig was a New Year's Eve here in Tulsa, and it worked out. So we were playing here on New Year's Eve at the fairgrounds, and we figured out, well, that would be a good place for me to get off, and I would already be home, so it wouldn't have to do anything to get me home. So yeah, that was, and then Ken, to be honest, after that, I just I didn't, the constant travel didn't really agree with me, and I was homesick half the time, and I just got a full-time job with the city of Tulsa. Started as a fire dispatcher, did that for 10 years, and then I spent 25 years working for the city council. I always played on the weekends and some weeknights, but it was important to me to make a living and not depend on that. So
now you mentioned a fire dispatcher job. Your dad was fire chief here in Seminole.
Yeah.
And
I was a fire dispatcher for 10 years, and a guy named Stanley Hawkins hired me, and then when he left, another guy who's still a friend of mine became fire chief. A guy named Chief Baker, and then he also became a city councilor, and I worked for him at the city council. I did that for 10 years, and then I worked 25 years at the city council. And
oh my.
Yeah.
And you're retired now from the full-time grind?
Yes. I thought I was being smart. I set myself up to retire because I had a lot of gigs. I was playing 3 or 4 times a week.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I'll just walk away in April of 2020. Well, that didn't work out because that's when COVID hit.
Yeah, 2020 was weird.
So I walked away from my day job thinking, well, I'll be playing 4 nights a week,
Right.
and I did not play 4 nights a week. I
Right.
sat at home, and while everyone was just scared to death, So
Well,
now,
I'm glad those times are behind us.
yeah, I'm so glad that they are. I mean, that was I lost a lot of I lost Kay Magruder to COVID and Don.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was tough. And it was a strange time. So
Back to the music. You are carrying a torch for the Tulsa Sound, and I know you made an album a year or two ago.
yes,
Tell us about that.
that album, I had written a bunch of instrumental songs over the years, and I was playing. But I've always played with a lot of different bands. Which there's good and bad to that. It never gets boring, but it's something different all the time. But
Right.
it's just what I've always done, and I'm used to it now. But the bands that I play with, I'm still in about 4 bands, but I love all of them. I love all the people that are involved in them. But yeah, this project called Monkey Mind I got some friends of mine to play. Matt Teagarden played drums. I played bass, and Matt Teagarden played drums. He's the son of David Teagarden, who played with Bob Seger for years and years.
Right.
And we recorded it at David's studio. And then a guy named Seth Lee Jones, who just this week got back from spending some time in California with Dweezil Zappa, doing a
Wow.
podcast with Dweezil and meeting a lot of people out in LA. He played guitar, and then a friend that I met named Greg Zink played B3 organ, and he lives in Oklahoma City, and like me, he plays in a lot of different bands, and then God, not to make the story too long, but there was a song that the melody didn't get recorded when we were cutting a song. It was just left out. I didn't catch it, and so I thought, well, it'd be cool to just bring in some horn players to play the melody, and then um, I got so excited about that I wrote horn charts for another couple of songs on the record, and those are the songs that, it's funny how things happen. Those are the songs that people like the most, the ones that have the horn section. It's like a rock band or a funk band with horns. And so it turned out to be a really good project. And I don't get to play that music a lot live because nobody's got a budget. I got to pay all these really good players to play out.
Right.
But I'm working on the next album right now, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, I will be at the church studio here in Tulsa tomorrow night, recording the horn parts for the next record.
Oh, my goodness.
Four songs.
Fabled Church Studio. For the folks who don't know, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was started. Leon Russell back in the '60s or '70s bought this old church on 3rd Street, and he turned it into a studio. And that's when he was with Shelter Records, Denny Cordell, and that was kind of their home base for a while. And then Leon ended up leaving and moving to California. And at some point after that, um, Steve Ripley, who started the Tractors, bought the building, and he had been playing on the road with Bob Dylan for years and years, and
Right.
he bought it, and he made the Tractors records in there, and it's kind of his home base. And then he sold it, and this lady named Teresa Knox purchased it, and it was really in a state of disrepair. And Teresa, it was just a labor of love for her to get it restored and back in operation. And it's an incredible studio now. It's just first rate. They bought the soundboard that recorded Daniel Lanois recorded one of YouTube's albums on the board that is in that studio, and
Oh, my.
they have a collection of microphones, vintage microphones that is probably as big as any studio in the United States. And Teresa has gotten fond of researching microphones and learning about them, and she can tell you all about them. She's not a recording engineer, but she's become a friend, and so I've done several when they opened. I did the first 2 sessions when they opened the studio. And Teresa was there in the building for both of them and teased me that I was getting in on the ground floor. And I said, that's good for me. So I'm happy with that. So, and I've done some sessions in there since. I'm working on my Monkey Mind thing there now, and I'm helping out a friend of mine from Seattle who has written some songs, a young lady named Jessie Koniga, and she's gonna come down and cut her original songs. We're going to work on that. We'll probably do that next month. So just trying
Wow.
to,
When do you rest, Matt?
well, during the day. Don't call before 9.
That's awesome.
I will be up.
Well, it must be something when you enter a studio like that with so much
Not
history.
belabor this story, but you were talking about the Gators. Yeah, the
Yes.
first band you saw me with. There was a store, there was a television show called Backstage Tulsa that was on in the early 80s. And they used that studio to record the bands. And what they did, they kind of did like Hee Haw. They recorded a bunch of different bands and then just assembled shows from week to week of one song from each band. And the Gators were on, they had an 8-week season, and we were on 7 of the 8 episodes. And it was recorded at the church studio
Oh my.
in the 80s. And the engineer was Steve Ripley, and it was before he bought the place. And if you go on YouTube and look up the Gators and Backstage Tulsa, you can see there's a performance of us
Oh my.
playing in that studio with the Gators.
Well, I'll sure go out and check that out. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the fun thing of having so much history is you return to things. You never know when you're going to return to something that you've experienced before, and the church is kind of like that for me. But now I hope to be in there. And then I don't know, David Teagarden's studio where we recorded the first album. It's literally across the street and down the block. And David is a great friend, and that's a great studio as well. And the engineer there is a good friend. Another crazy story, connecting story. When I went to East Central in Ada, I was a business major, and one of my professors was a guy named David Alexander. David moved to San Angelo, Texas after that. This is in the 80s, and a couple years ago, he called me from San Angelo and said, my buddy Gary Laney, who I have a publishing company with here in San Angelo, has taken the head engineer job at the church studio. And I want you to go down and meet him. And I did. And now Gary and I are pretty good friends. And so again, I'll be seeing Gary tomorrow. And it's just crazy how, after a while, you just keep bumping back into the same people over and over. And there's nothing better than that.
Yeah. Well, Ed, you played with another guy who has some Seminole connections, Chabon Tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Siobhan. We've cut some tracks at the last year at Tea Garden Studio, and we've not put anything out yet, but yeah. And then did you know Mike Sadowake?
No, I didn't.
He grew up in Seminole, and he lives in Norman now. But yeah, I found that out a few years ago when I played some gigs with Mike Sadowake. Used to be in a band with Siobhan Tiger.
Okay.
And Mike is an incredible guitar player. He lives in Oklahoma City. Today's his birthday. And
Happy birthday.
yeah, happy birthday, Sadowake. But he's an incredible musician, and he grew up in Seminole like you and I did. And but yeah, I met Siobhan. He was living in Seattle. He moved back to Oklahoma City, and he started sitting in with Seth Jones, who I was playing with. That's how I met Siobhan. And then Siobhan and I went and played the Deadwood Blues Festival in Deadwood, South Dakota last year. And that's where I met Jesse Coniga, who has written these songs and is going to come down and record an album at the church. So
Right. And you and Siobhan did the Jesse Ed Davis tribute.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did a podcast about that just a few months ago. I interviewed Doug Miller, who wrote the book,
I love
What We
Doug.
Call Love Child.
Yes.
So I went up to Oklahoma City to see to the History Center there to hear him uh, give a book reading that night, and you and Siobhan were in the
Yeah,
corner
we're
playing.
playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
So
was great.
connections, just like you say, when you're connected in the music business, you just never know who and going to run into and when you're going to run into them. It's always nice surprises.
Exactly. Exactly. It makes it really fun. And I never knew that. I'm just so humble, honestly, and grateful to still be as busy as I am at this point, and I don't see slowing down for you know a while anyway.
Well, there's no need to slow down as long as you can do it. One thing I like to do on this podcast is give some guys give you a platform to promote your upcoming gigs. Where are you going to be?
February 20th, I'll be at the Blue Note in Oklahoma City with Chabon Tiger.
Okay.
Um, February 26th, I'll be at a place called Maggie's with the David Oakleaf Trio. He's another guy that I've just begun playing with, and that's it for February. Besides, I'll just be I've got to do a lot of I play I play at a church, a Baptist church every Sunday morning, and I have to learn 5 songs a week for that, and then working on my own songs as the inspiration comes, putting those down. I've got I do all my demos in this room I'm sitting in. I've got a little recording set up, and got there's the drum set back there in
Oh
the
yeah, I can see it. I can see a tom sticking up there. Yeah.
and then my Telecaster and my basses, and I've got a I've got a I've got a bass that Seth Jones, he's a luthier, he helped me build. It's the Monkey Mind bass.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's they got the little monkey there on
Got the monkey on there. That's cool.
got a monkey. It's got a monkey on its back.
Now, speaking of basses, didn't I read that on the Monkey Mind sessions you used a bass that Carl Radel once played?
I did. I did.
Wow, that was like holding the Holy Grail for you, right?
Man, no kidding. No kidding. That was incredible. Incredible opportunity to play that bass. And yeah, that would Brett Baldwin, the engineer, had purchased that, and he brought it in and let me play it. So
Oh wow,
that was a
doesn't get
thrill.
any cooler than that.
No, it really doesn't. But yeah, I love, I played drums for, which I still play drums. I have gigs where I play drums. But I'm doing more and more on the bass now, and I'm just more fascinated with the bass at this point. I mean, like I said, I got the drum kit back there, and I play it often, but I play the bass every day, and kind of a journeyman with that instrument, and it's speaking to me right now. So I'm really enjoying doing it.
Well, that's kind of the way I was. I played drums all through my teenage years. And then when
Hmm.
I was about 19, there was always a guitar around my house.
Yeah.
And I went off to college up at Northeastern State in Tahlequah.
Uh-huh.
And living in a dorm, you couldn't take a drum set with you. So
Right.
I took one of my dad's guitars and and I thought, hey, this is kind of fun. So
Yeah.
I was fortunate to be around a guy who knew enough theory to teach me some basic theory
Yeah.
about, the 1-4-5 chord system and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I thought, well, this is a lot more fun than just beating on the drums. And you kind of hate to abandon the drums, you know. It's your first love, but I just never looked back
Yeah,
after that point.
I get it. I completely get that.
Yeah, you get hooked and
Yeah,
just go for it.
yeah.
Well, Matt, I really enjoyed talking to you. This was a blast for me. That does it for another episode of Coffee with Ken. Thank you to Matt Martin, and thanks to you, the viewers. And be sure to give us a like and subscribe. Again, thanks for joining Coffee with Ken.